विश्व में हमने युवाओं की IT एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना एक रुतबा खड़ा किया है और भारत इसके बाद के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साफ मैं हमेशा कहता आया हूं, IT plus IT is equal to IT. Information technology plus Indian talent is equal to India tomorrow.
Yeah. Good morning to one and all. Yeah. Good morning to one and all. We are delighted to have you all, each one of you here to virtually participate and take part in the 10th edition of Healthcare Leadership Forum. The Healthcare Leadership Summit will encourage and intend to offer unparalleled insights throughout the comprehensive virtual program that we have planned for the next 2 days, today and tomorrow, with key opinion leaders in the industry taking part. We have 10 scintillating panel discussions. We have a variety of panel discussions touching each healthcare segment today and tomorrow. And of course, we have the Healthcare Excellence Awards in the evening. For today, I thank you all of you for your support and presence here today. Those who are virtually, who are logging in, please log on to our 3D avatar platform and keep posting us your queries so that we have a very good interactive session. So I will, without any delay, hand over to Dr. Ravi Gupta, our CEO and founder, Elets Technomedia Private Limited. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pratibha, and thanks to all our esteemed speakers who have joined in this inaugural session, and thank you all the delegates who are watching us on the live on our 3D platform of this conference and expo. It's called Avatar, and what this event is all about, that we bring the healthcare leaders from the government, from the private sector, from the industry associations, and from academia, and we discuss about what are the challenges and opportunities emerging in the sector. And this is the 10th edition. This is our annual event, so this is like 10th year of this event we have been holding. And as many of the delegates who have been attending our events, you are aware that Elets has been publishing this magazine called eHealth for last 15 years. We started about talking about IT in health and technology in health a long way back, and the idea was to document the stories of innovations by the private sector, by the government sector, by the industry, by the entrepreneurs, by the startups, and help them disseminate to a larger audience of the policymakers and the healthcare sector as a whole, so that an informed discussion and debate happens regarding healthcare policies and healthcare future of this country. So let me also inform all our delegates that live tweets, live updates on each of the sessions are available on eHealth Facebook page, eHealth Twitter page and eHealth Instagram page, and also eHealth LinkedIn page. I request all you all to also log into ehealth.eletsonline.com to see the latest tweets and Facebook updates of this event, and also all the past 10 years of healthcare events we have been doing. Actually 15 years of the event we have been doing, and you can see all our past videos on our YouTube channel Elets TV. So let me welcome again our esteemed speakers. We have with us Rajiv Nathji, who is a champion of health care industry in the country, and we also have Pawan Chaudhary, who is also a important leader and stakeholder in this growth of healthcare industry and healthcare sector as a whole. We are also being joined by Dr. Girdhar Gyani, who is a doyen in this sector. So he will be joining us soon. So let me put up a context in the this inaugural session. We are in January end right now, and in the last 1 year, the health care sector has seen unbelievable changes, unbelievable awareness about the importance of the healthcare sector in the overall all sectors of the society, and especially in the government. Right now, our Prime Minister is leading from the front in the vaccination program of this government of India, which is the, perhaps the largest and fastest vaccination program ever held anywhere globally. And there is a renewed focus on the health, the care infrastructure, hospitals, diagnostic centers, and of course the healthcare technology and healthcare startups and pharma industry also. In this background, I will request our first speaker, Shri Pawan Chaudhary ji, who is the Chairman and Director General of Medical Technology Association of India, MTAL, to please highlight, Pawan ji, how you see that what are the major transformations which have happened in last 1 year, and what is your expectation from the policy makers of this country regarding taking our healthcare sector to the next level? Pawan ji, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi Gupta, and it's a pleasure to be with you all today. If I look at the topic of the conference, it is co-creating a robust healthcare ecosystem. And it is a very well chosen topic and very well worded also. And I think if I discuss what is my opinion on the fragments of this topic, I will be able to answer your question very well, Dr. Gupta. So, co-creating. Who are the co-creators today? The conventional co-creators of this sector are hospitals, medtech companies, pharma companies, payers, that is the insurance companies, government, including the regulators. These are the conventional creators. Who are the new creators who are joining in? Post the pandemic, we have seen how telemedicine has opened this sector, how telemedicine has created new epicenters of health in home healthcare. Telemedicine, which was moving very slowly, despite it giving advantages to the patient by convenience, through cost, through infection control, to the doctor through a better cognitive space, better management of his time, to the payer by reducing his cost, and to the government by covering the shortfall in healthcare workers and doctors. So it was benefiting everybody but moving very slowly. With COVID, it really opened up the space. And I am reminded of only one such instance where something similar has happened or some similar development which helped everybody, and that is Henry Ford. Henry Ford, when he came with his assembly line, it benefited the worker because the number of hours came down, working hours, and his wages went up. It benefited the customer because his costs went down, and it benefited the manufacturer also because his profits went up. So this development hit communist ideology more than any capitalist ideology. And telemedicine is also similar. The hidden advantages of telemedicine, or the benefits it is bringing to the patient, came out in a research we did in MTI and another company where my family is seriously invested in. When we found out that telemedicine, the patients are not only taking up because of the convenience, but also because they can be treated in dignity. That means they will not be ill-treated by any indifferent healthcare worker or any arrogant doctor. There is a little bit of an immunity which comes to this kind of dignity infarctions when you go on the telemedicine portal. So you see in the first quarter, there were 10 crore consultations and 8 minutes each. This is going to open up healthcare in a very big way. Home healthcare you have already seen. Real estate, Dr. Gupta, in which also you are very deeply invested, will come as a co-creator. We have studied deeply pandemic and business anthropology. And we have found that real estate is one of the sectors which really gallops or comes into the play after a pandemic. Before it was discovered that pandemics were caused by microorganisms, the miasma theory was there, that pandemics are caused because of fumes which come out from the soil. That was the dubious theory at that time. How did the real estate and construction industry respond to it? Millions of square kilometers of soil was paved with flagstones, as you see in Europe when you go there. The powder rooms which we have, they came because the boys were supplying ice and coal every day to the kitchens. So these boys were coming from various, like Amazon guy comes today, from various homes, and they could not have been allowed into the bathroom for cleaning up. So there was a powder room which came up. The porches which you see in the balconies or on the second floor of many houses, just jutting out suddenly as if out of place, came because of tuberculosis. Because you could only treat tuberculosis through light and air, as antibiotics were not available. So the list is long. This sector is going to wake up in a very big way. It's already happening, and we are already associated with companies, large companies which are entering this. The other day I was in a fireside chat with Hafiz Contractor, and he was sharing how this sector is going to now come and play its game. It will not cure, it is not a curative, but it will be a very important sector coming in. Elder care also will be one sector which will be influenced deeply by the interface between healthcare and real estate. So these are the co-creators. Patient advocacy groups will come in. Prophylactic or preventive healthcare will come in. And we will co-create this healthcare ecosystem. Now, coming to how it can be robust. Robust, by robust, I mean resilient and flexible. And those things you'll see, there'll be micro hospitals coming up, again, through interaction of healthcare and real estate. And there will be flexible models of healthcare which will come up. There will be step up and step down hospitals. So not that you have to go to the entire hospital together. A friend of mine has launched his company after coming out of healthcare investment profitably. He has launched Kites Elder Care, which is a step up model. That means preparing the patient for an operation and helping him convalesce once the operation is done before he goes home. So these kind of flexible micro models will come up. In terms of ecosystem, the ecosystem which will be very urgently required will be in pharma. APIs will have to be manufactured here. MedTech, lot of manufacturing of products which can be made in India will require a quick development of the ecosystem. Electrical ecosystem, mechanical ecosystem, hardware and software ecosystem, and clinical and regulatory domains also will require fine-tuning. This is already well developed in India because of strong presence of pharma as well as medtech companies, global and domestic. Healthcare worker training. There are 5 million vacancies in the government in healthcare space. This worker training has to happen, and medical technology companies particularly will play a big role in making this happen. And we should be able to train our people as well as they are trained anywhere else in the world. On this point, I would like to use this podium to ask you to help differentiate the pharma sales executive or medical representative from the medical technology representative. Medical pharma, once you know how to pop a pill, or the healthcare worker knows how to give an injection, almost all the products will use these modes of entry only. However, in medical technology, every product comes with a software of training. So the medical technology worker needs to participate along with the doctor and the healthcare worker in the treatment of the patient in the procedure. So you will see our people in the OT, in the emergency room with the doctors, which is where it is very important to protect them with vaccination. The industry might even be willing to pay for such protection. But when the security guard in the hospital is getting vaccinated, these people who are working in the OTs should be vaccinated, and we should care for them so that we maintain the training ecosystem and the support ecosystem which the industry provides to the hospitals. Similarly, the manufacturing worker also will have to be trained. The manufacturer of medical technology, his worker also have to be trained in the best manufacturing practices, quality control, etc. That was the technological ecosystem. Financial ecosystem, interest rates for such a vital sector like medical technology, and in fact for healthcare, should be really lowered. The taxation also of these companies, we should seriously look at. Otherwise, hospitals particularly are going to have a very tough time going forward. And that tough time may come for medical technology also soon, and pharma also soon. This sector has really taken a beating because of capacity changes which were made, COVID beds and non-COVID beds. Then price control came in several hospitals, in several states for procedures which were related with COVID and non-COVID also. And then the infection control took too much more time and money than was earlier spent because there was lodging and boarding, training, systems setting for infection control, corridors making for COVID corridor and non-COVID corridor. So this sector also requires, entire healthcare sector requires attention in that sense from the financial ecosystem side. I would also wish that there are no tariff barriers, because we have found again and again that whenever technology encounters tariff barriers, then the healthcare of quality of that country goes down dramatically. We have seen it before 1990. We do not wish to see it again. So that is also our humble suggestion. And lastly, the legislative ecosystem. We need to have a harmonized, globally harmonized ecosystem, and so that our products are not only used here, but also abroad freely, and we practice on the turfs which we are going to practice in the global arena. So these are some of the points which I had to help us create a robust healthcare ecosystem. Who are all the co-creators and the new ones who have come in, I've shared how we can be resilient and flexible, and which are the ecosystems which are really very vital to their thriving, and how we can further push them forward. Dr. Ravi Gupta, thank you very much. I hand it over back to you.
Thank you, Pavanji, for listing out several aspects of robust health care ecosystem in the country. And you have touched upon from real estate to telemedicine to financial ecosystem to training ecosystem and several other aspects which are very, very important. Let me welcome Dr. Girdhar Gyani, who is a Director General of Association of Healthcare Providers of India. Namaskar, sir, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you with us, and you have been associated with the Elets conferences since inception for last 15 years. So it's a blessing to have you in our inaugural session. Thanks for joining. Thank you. And let me request my colleague to bring the latest eHealth magazine on the screen, and we can have the pleasure of a virtual launch by all our eminent dignitaries of the inaugural session. Rajeshwar, can we have the magazine on the screen virtually? I hope I'm able to talk to him, but it's okay. We can do it later on. So let me request our next speaker, Dr. Girdhar Gyani ji, to kindly deliver your keynote address in the inaugural session. And the context is that we have this pandemic, and how has the health care ecosystem transformed in the last 1 year, and what are the challenges and opportunities for the next year, this year? What are you going to do? Thank you, Gyani ji. Yeah. Sir, you are good, sir. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Is it okay?
Sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was listening to my friend Pavan Chaudhary. I think he covered beautifully, I think, all segment of the healthcare. I didn't know he had so much knowledge even about the hospital sector, which I will speak. But I think it's good to see, each of us, have to supplement each other. That is the way it has to go. Well, you see, pandemic or no pandemic, I will say healthcare has been neglected in this country for a long time. And the issue here is, any service which you want, there are two factors required. In healthcare, you need good regulator, and in healthcare, you need empowered society. Unless there is empowered society to demand these services, the government or the provider will not come forward. So, first requirement is that, that education to the population, that these are your rights in the healthcare, or these are your needs in the healthcare. Forget about rights. This is what you need to take care of your body, to take care of your mind, take care of soul. That kind of things actually we have not educated in our society, but that is gradually now coming up. Thanks to Google and, of course, education, literacy, everything is coming up now. And people are becoming more and more conscious about their healthcare needs. So that one pressure is building up from that side. Similarly, the government also, I think, became a little bit more proactive in 2017. We saw the new health policy coming up. So that was, I think, the beginning. And in 2018, the Ayushman Bharat came. So at least the intent came very clearly that this is what actually is being done. So if you really see the design of the Ayushman Bharat, it is excellent. 1.5 lakhs health and wellness center looks so attractive on paper, and hopefully, I am not saying it will not become practical, but the issue here is, whenever you are talking of 1.5 lakh health and wellness center, which are supposed to do all screening, NCD screening, telemedicine, and along with that now the National Digital Health Mission also has come. If these two programs, if they become focused on these two programs, your country can elevate the next, I don't know, say 3 years, 5 years, to the top of the line in healthcare. But actually we forgot something here. To achieve those things, you need basic building blocks. Now, basic building blocks are hospitals at the location, or I would say primarily, you may be talking about the virtual hospital, Pawan was mentioning technology, but you certainly need few physical locations throughout. The problem in India is Hyderabad is full of hospital. You walk 100 yards, there is a hospital. Bombay may not be that much, still good number. Delhi, 937 nursing homes. But when you go 100 kilometers from Delhi or Hyderabad, there is nothing. So, because there is no regulator. In healthcare, unfortunately, there is no regulator, by the way. People may be wondering, I am talking. There is no regulator to regulate the hospitals. It is all the ministry, they are supposed to be the per se regulator. They can't be regulator. You have IRDA, you have TRI, you need that kind of professional regulator. Now that unfortunately we do not have. Ideally, suppose there is a hospital, the next hospital should not have been allowed in so and so radius, or let us say so much population is already covered by these 5 hospitals. Don't allow 6 hospitals in that place. Radiology, think of radiology now. You have, let us say, 18,000 radiologists in the country, and they are all, focused only in the metro cities. A pregnant woman needs ultrasound 4 times in the complete pregnancy time. We have the data that 73% women do not get even the one ultrasound in this country. How can you then reduce IMR or MMR? So basically I am saying you need a basic building block, which I am talking is, you should start with a regulator. Even in Rajiv Nath's territory, he has been talking about it. There is a drug controller who is also regulating the equipment. Now, how can you compare the medical equipment with the pharmacy? So, I think on one hand, there are requirements that so many bureaucrats, so many professionals are available in our country who can be assigned this job of regulating these sectors. But we have not done that. Okay, so there's one. Second is, we have got 1.3 beds per 1,000 population as per the government statistics. I am putting together government and private put together, 1.3 beds per 1,000. You need 3.5 beds even for the developing nation. So that means 2.5 times more beds are required. So the Prime Minister, 2 years back, he said, I want to see 3,000 new hospitals coming up in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. I am very sorry to say nothing has happened in that direction. Nothing. Because there was a meeting in Guwahati where all secretaries were invited after Prime Minister announced, and each state was told to facilitate bringing up private sector investment. But you know what was required was, the recommendation was, establish single window clearance, facilitate in getting the land, providing them the soft loan. Nothing, none of these three things have happened so far. So the question is that the availability, or I will use the word accessibility of the healthcare in the deficient regions is still not there. Now, chicken and egg story I will say here. Private sector, firstly, they are not getting any incentive, number one. Number two, even if they set up the hospital in Tier 3 city, where is the doctor available? Where is the specialist who is ready to go to Tier 3 city? Because he is getting consumed in the Tier 1 and Tier 2 itself. So that means we have failed to recognize the need that you need a specialist. So our medical education, you must understand, reforms in the healthcare sector will come only when you reform the medical education. With great effort, I don't know what actually finally will happen. NMC has come now. Whether it will be able to do better job than the MCI, time will tell us. Okay. Now, the other sector which actually Pawan was talking, you see, India has capability of supplying the workforce to the entire world. We have missed this opportunity very badly. Paramedic Council is stuck in the Parliament. It was passed in Lok Sabha, stuck in Rajya Sabha. Such an important sector, there is no paramedical council or allied healthcare council. So each one of us is training the allied healthcare workforce in our own way. If you standardize this one, not only it will fuel the employment needs, somebody was saying, each bed actually generates 5 direct employment and 25 indirect employment. I think this is a great opportunity in front of us. We have young population, we can upskill them or skill them and make sure that the shortage of doctors also to some extent can be compensated if you have got empowered nurses and empowered technicians. So, and then actually we could have been exporting this workforce abroad, so many countries. So these are the basic building blocks actually you need in the healthcare. I am only presuming that this government now is conscious about it. They know that Ayushman Bharat has to be implemented. They know that the National Digital Health Mission has to be implemented. I am sure in the next 2-3 years, something drastic should happen. And you see, ultimately, in fact, one of my talk I was saying, with the pandemic experience, I found every VIP whosoever fell for COVID rushed to the private hospitals. Big shots also, instead of going to AIMS, they went to private hospitals. Now, what does it show? I'm not saying that there is something wrong. Something wrong means that critical care segment, the government sector was found wanting. And it is no fact also that 85% tertiary care beds in the country are to the private sector. So the government, I think, also should strengthen the public sector to provide good competition to the private sector in this area. And if the government is realizing that the tertiary care is being handled by the private, then incentivize them. Today, of course, Pawan, Raji, I think all of us know that the financial sustainability of the healthcare is in the shambles. You may be looking at the good buildings, granite stone is there in the hospitals. But actually, if you ask me, their financial sustainability is a big problem. Why are you seeing the takeover of being healthcare being done by the foreign investment? Simple reason, because Do you do not find new investment coming in the healthcare sector in past? At least I have not seen a big greenfield hospital coming up in past 3 years. This is a danger sign. So this actually area which actually I am saying needs very urgent attention. And lastly, one or two points about the I would say this area of Pawan and Rajiv. India were able to send rockets through the ISRO in the space. DRDO was a big failure. Suddenly, the space department transferred the technology through our great man Abdul Kalam. And today, DRDO is a wonderful organization. Earlier, our even automatic rifle was being made in the not being made by the ordnance factories, because our government realized that all defense cannot be given to the private sector. And we kept on happily importing. There was, of course, vested interest, I will not say that here. But today, I think government has allowed defense production in the hands of private. I can assure you, in the next 5 years, I have been part of the defense and DRDO for 10 years. You should be in position to export the armament, even the aeroplanes. Similarly, in medical devices, something happened in Andhra, very good experiment. And otherwise, I think it was presumed that medical devices will come from Philips, Siemens, GE. We never thought India had capability. Now we have actually allowed them to do. I can tell you, wonders are happening and wonders will happen. So I think this is a game of mindset. So policy decision has to be done at that level, and having confidence in our own people. And definitely, let me tell you, I think like all my panelists, we have proved the world, I don't know any number of times. I can simply say with confidence that I have not seen the sincerity, hard work, commitment in our people. But we are not, that it has not been utilized. The potential has not been utilized. But this Atmanirbhar which we are now talking, hopefully to convert into the real picture, and we will see new India, happy India, healthy India in time to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nirjalji. You have explained all the aspects of the challenges which Indian healthcare ecosystem is facing so well, and you have touched upon all the important regulatory issues, capacity building issues, and also the infrastructure issue and private sector versus government sector issue so well. Let me request our next speaker, Rajiv Nathji, who is the forum coordinator for Association of Medical Devices, and he is a champion of Make in India, and also he has been talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat in the context of healthcare. So, let me request him to talk about how can India become a Atmanirbhar Bharat in the health sector. Rajiv, over to you.
Thank you, Gupta ji, for this introduction and for the opportunity. This last 1 year, in my various long experience, has been the most interesting roller coaster year for me, I would say, in our professional life and business life, as an industry, as a company, and even personally. So, very interesting inputs by Pawanji and by Dr. Gyani on the healthcare sector. And this is a sector that we are a part of, and we are serving that in terms of giving the supplies. So the COVID crisis definitely was like a spotlight on medical devices. Lockdown had to happen, shutdown had to happen in the country because the healthcare infrastructure was not fully prepared, and we didn't have adequate number of ventilators, medical consumables, and medical devices to take care of the people. So until the production could be geared up, inventory could be built up, and the healthcare system restructured to slow down the influx of patients into the healthcare system so that it would not be overburdened, the government tried to manage the crisis in its own manner. So we went from a position of extreme shortages because of very high import dependency, and imports had stopped from February and March because of Chinese New Year and then the COVID, and then the shipments itself stopped from all over the world into India in March. There was a complete chaotic crisis of shortages of medical devices. Simple things like masks, thermometers were not available in the country. And then the government and the country realized that we need to become Atmanirbhar. Even a simple thermometer was being sold on the black market, electronic thermometer at 10,000 rupees, which should be available at 1,000 rupees normally. So rapidly, various entrepreneurs stepped forward to the call of the Prime Minister. People from travel industry, from garment industry, from automotive sector, they were contacted through their associations by IMET. We've never seen this kind of cooperative working from the government departments. I wish this kind of cooperation continues, but it showed that when there is collective teamwork, mountains can be moved. And it has been proven now. So within a few months' time of extreme shortages, from PP coveralls with hardly 20 manufacturers making hardly 6 million pieces per annum, within 3 months' time, we had 140 manufacturers listed with IMED, making a capacity of more than 250 million pieces per annum. And currently, the number is exceeding in billions now. In the case of gloves, from 2020 to 27, from 2 billion to 2.5 billion. Ventilators was the biggest crisis. There were only 8 manufacturers making hardly 3,300 ventilators per year. Post June to September period, there were 17 manufacturers with the capacity to make nearly 5 lakh pieces per year. Similarly, for sanitizers, goggles, there were finally 17 manufacturers making 20 million pieces per year. Surgical masks with 25 manufacturers went up to over 71 by June, July, and from 300 million pieces per annum to over 3.5 billion pieces per annum by July, and even more in September, October. Same thing for the kits. There was no diagnostic kit manufacturing specific for COVID. We were making diagnostics, but nothing specific for COVID because it was a new disease. So from the RN extraction kits, from zero, we have now 16 manufacturers making more than 260 million pieces per annum. In the RT-PCR kits, from zero, we went up to more than 10 manufacturers making more than 1.5 billion pieces per annum. And for N95 masks, with hardly 5 manufacturers in February making hardly 14 billion pieces per annum, we have now more than 50 manufacturers making more than 1 billion pieces per annum. Same thing for BTM kits, same thing for swabs. So when there's a will, there's a way. Now the problem that came is that from extreme shortages, we went up to extreme surplus. With extreme surplus, what came was excessive over-competition and a falling in prices. I would say, and I have my full sympathy with the healthcare workers, with the procurement officers, and with the doctors. In the crisis time, they were facing the quality issues because there was not enough available and rubbish was being put forward to them. Then they got access to good quality. And after September, again, they are facing a problem because of surplus production and over competition. Manufacturers had to cut corners to compete with each other in terms of quality, and they were not allowed to export. It has taken us a lot of efforts to ask the government to re-allow exports so the surpluses could be exported. But until the exports could come forward and the surpluses could be exported, there was a crisis position, and because of the falling prices, people were cutting corners in quality and in raw material pricing. With the result that again healthcare delivery was suffering because they had access to poor quality products only, especially in the public healthcare system on GEM, where they were buying only on the L1 prices. And many times people were clearing their inventory over there just to get access to cash flow. And the product which was being priced on the GEM was much lower than their raw material cost, forget about their manufacturing cost. So a complete roller coaster year for these manufacturers. The people who rushed in, many of them are dying out now, which is quite sad. There'll be survivors of the fittest, of course, and the ones who will be focusing on quality will finally enjoy in the export market and maybe also in the Indian market, especially in the private healthcare sector. So here we find over there that we need to have a focus upon demanding quality. And in terms of demanding quality, again, my sympathies with the healthcare buyers, because manufacturers, many of them are showing them fake certificates. So my request and advisory to the healthcare professionals who are listening in, that kindly seek certified manufacturers who have got certification of ICMET certification from Quality Council of India or ISO 1345 certification, which has been accredited. The certification body is accredited by NABCB QCI. In case you don't find the QCI's logo over there, then it is definitely questionable certification. There are fake certificates of US FDA. US FDA does not issue certificates. You only have to go to their website to check on that. Same thing for CE marking. If there is no CE number over there and you cannot go to a website and check on the CE number over there, then that certificate probably may be fake also. Trust your instincts on the quality itself by trying out the product yourself. Now, coming forward to the great opportunity going forward, we do find that now this Indian market is more than a 1 lakh crore market with 42,000 crore rupees imports taking place over there, and it's a 50,000 crore rupee investment opportunity. But we should not be rushing like chasing fool's gold, everybody chasing the same product line because something has gone short. It's a very wide range of medical devices, more than 6,000 devices which are being imported to the country under more than 150 HS codes. You can go to the IMED website and see what are the imports taking place for under each of the 150 HS code categories. We have put over there color codes of red, orange, and green. Where there's surplus manufacturing capacity, more capacity may not be added. Where it is orange, you may kindly put a factory with due caution. Green, where imports are mainly predominant and manufacturing is welcome. So we encourage over there, and we think there's an opportunity that more than 1,200 investors targeting 25 crore rupee investments as collaborations with foreign countries can put in manufacturing plants for these various product lines to bring in 30,000 crore rupees worth of investments. Similarly, you can seek out 200, for example, joint venture investor partners for bigger projects of, say, of about 50 crore rupees each to bring in 10,000 crore rupees investments by seeking out partners from Japan, Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, Israel, and the various 10 countries over there. We also welcome the large MNCs who already have set up shop over here to think of manufacturing in India, like it has happened in the mobile phone. We want to see similar success in the manufacturing area for India. And if each of them puts up, even 50 of them put up 200 crore rupees plant over here, 10,000 crore rupees can come up into the country. So what will be required to make it exciting for all of these people is that they need to see an advantage in manufacturing to be a rewarding experience. The business should be viable. The public procurement should favor quality and good pricing. The private healthcare should favor ethical marketing. There should be quality credibility both from the supply side and on the buying side. Unless the buyer values quality and the supplier values quality, we will not have a healthy marketplace. And then we need to have an ecosystem in terms of product development. So in terms of asks for making business viability, we had, as a budget expectation, we are hoping to hear some good news. And our request to the government has been that anybody who's investing, whether it is Maruti or GE or an Indian entrepreneur or a Japanese company coming in or a Korean company coming in, when he puts up a factory over here, like in most countries, like in Iran or in Saudi Arabia, he would expect that by putting a factory, he'll have some nominal duty protection. So currently the duties are at 0 to 7.5%. The healthcare industry may kindly bear with us. Either we can be importing 85 to 90% of our goods and be exposed to a yo-yo ball like an exchange rate changing every time, or we have domestic manufacturing and by healthy competition bring down the pricing. So having a custom duty of about 10 to 15% would be optimal for protecting that industry when it comes up. May not be required immediately, but definitely when somebody puts up, it should be a predictable policy. Same thing for making components and same thing for getting the access to raw materials. So the duty on the components may go up to 5% to 7.5% on actual user basis. That will allow an ecosystem for the components to be made in the country also. The next area is in terms of public procurement. Dr. Gyani has already given his thoughts on that. Most countries do have a favorable policy, whether it is America, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, South Africa, Malaysia, Indonesia, and even World Bank favors that in public healthcare support your domestic industry by giving preferential pricing to a domestic manufacturer. In India, they already have a policy that if you have more than 50% domestic content, you may enjoy that advantage that you can match the L1 price and seek half the business. But mostly I would say it is quite good, but not every time it is good, because if you have to match a non-remunerative price of a Chinese low price import, which has got support of pricing on subsidies by Chinese government, then that becomes a non-attractive option over there. So that is something that we are seeking in terms of price preference. But that price preference, I don't think should be given so easily to Indian manufacturers. They need to work hard for it. So that can be given in terms of achieving quality certification and innovation certification. So somebody who's got a good creditable certification from Quality Council of India, he may be given that advantage. If he has got design certification from Design India, from DPIGT, he can be given some advantage over there. That way you are favoring domestic innovation, you are favoring the quality built up in India and the quality credibility in the country. The next area that we have to consider is in the area of ethical marketing. It becomes very challenging for an Indian manufacturer to sell oximeters or to sell electronic thermometers, because the imports which are coming in without any label of MRP on the packaging. Now this is covered under the Domestic Legal Metrology Act and the packaging rules. But because of the imports crisis, a special permission was taken to do away with the labeling, that let us allow the imports because of the crisis and we will put the labels later on. With the result, importers imported the goods without labels and put MRPs of their wish after importing the goods. So you have retailers over there who have got access to imported goods where they have much more margins, whereas Indian manufacturers with lower pricing, they will lose out on that. So the big challenges or the big dilemma for the manufacturer is, shall he be ethical or shall he play the market? If he plays the market, even he has to play the game of increasing the MRP. And this becomes detrimental to the consumers. Consumer can be a doctor, because even doctors buy the goods on a discount linked to the MRP. And it becomes detrimental to also the patients who are sometimes built on the MRP. So this is something that I think the medical community and the manufacturing community has to jointly work together to see something that can be done in a rationalized manner. So there's ethical marketing. The next area where the government has been very supportive is in terms of bringing out a PLI scheme this year and also in the medical device parks. So the good news for you people is that more than 8 states are interested to put medical device technology parks in the country, and they are talking to IMET and supporting IMET on that front over there. In the area of electronics, because e-health and Elets is focusing on electronics, let me brief the manufacturers and the stakeholders over here. A software park is coming up in Lucknow, has already come up in the Sanjay Gandhi Institute over there. It is supported by MIT. We are exploring the option or a market possibility of 10,000 rupees worth of software development in India, both for medical electronics manufacturing as well as in the case of healthcare informatics. Because of the digital healthcare mission going forward, there's going to be a huge demand also on that front over there. In addition, Mr. Yoginath was kind enough to offer to us 250 acres of land next to the new Noida airport coming up in Sector 28, and a medtech park which will focus mainly on medical electronics will be coming about there shortly. And I look forward to their launching announcement possibly in a few weeks' time, not months' time. With that, we'll have more manufacturing available over here of products like infusion pumps, simple things like ultrasound machines, and even basic items like monitors. Currently, all these items which are coming in come in a fully imported condition or in a lockdown condition. We need to have a robust manufacturing in the country and a support factor for each other. So again, working together, I think, is the most important part. By teamwork, we can work jointly to create an Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you so much.
Dhanyawad, Rajiv ji. I think you have highlighted several aspects which are very, very positive, and I think the important point about that 8 states are now looking at having medtech parks. And Gyani ji already mentioned about the AP example, which perhaps that started that awareness about the importance of medtech parks in the country. And good to hear that UP government is seriously looking at encouraging this sector. And also, you have mentioned about the PLI scheme, which is very, very important. And of course, the overall positive environment regarding tech and the whole health care ecosystem has improved in the last 1 year or 2 years. And there are some questions from the audience which we will take later, but I will request my colleague to have the virtual launch of the magazine on the screen. Rajeshwar, are we ready? Let me just coordinate it, and yes, it's here. I suppose yes. So this is the special issue of the January issue, although it got delayed, but we are virtually launching it, where we have focused on the vaccine efforts of the government of India, and the whole ecosystem which is responding and supporting the government in the largest vaccination program launched globally in this country by our honorable PM. So this is a virtual launch of the e-health issue of January. And let me inform all our readers that all our 15 years of magazines is available on our e-health portal, ehealth.eletsonline.com, and you can have a look at it. And there are some of the questions which have been asked, and we have around 10 minutes to wrap up the session. And so one of the question is that why the perception of any individual varies for public sector and private sector hospitals, although in both sectors both are called hospitals. So now one of the issues which was raised by Dr. Gyani about the capacity and the effectiveness of the government healthcare ecosystem. And there was an MRP question that I think was touched by Rajiv ji. He mentioned that a lot of imports are happening without MRP itself, and how that distorts the market. But I think these questions have been touched by the panelists. And just to wrap up this session, I will request each of the speakers to give your concluding remarks, and I would request that each of you touch one most important step which the government has to take in this year regarding the health care reforms. So I think like each of you have mentioned about several steps which should be taken, and all are important. But as we know that government is not able to respond to several policy initiatives at the same time. So let's look at the top most one priority. If we can identify from each of the speakers and like we can put it in our report and send as a recommendation to the government of India. If they look at it or not, it's like their imperative, but we can at least do our job. So requesting of Pawanji, one most important step which government of India should take this year in healthcare sector, according to you.
I feel informed policy making is the most important step. By informed policy making, I mean thorough analysis, empirical research, and a watertight case, because various cohorts will have different views which they will present. These should be sifted, and the market should be pulsed, and thorough and watertight policy making is required. And our government is very well aware that all over the world, any government is beset with unintended consequences of well-intentioned policy. So just having good intentions is not enough. Good intentions can also bring out harm. So how do you protect yourself from unintended consequences is the point which I would like to make. And I would like to highlight one of the governments which did this very well. That was the Thatcher government in UK. Margaret Thatcher was a chemist by training, and she was also a lawyer. And her approach to policy making was very thorough, so much so that she got this moniker forensic because of her chemist origin also. And she used to love this moniker. And she had a gentleman called Keith Joseph, who was the head of her policy making division. And his only job was to tell what will be the unintended consequences of this policy which you are bringing. And our Prime Minister and all his top colleagues are more and more aware of this, and which is great. As far as energy and courage is concerned, this government ranks very high. As far as a little more thoughtful scanning is concerned, I'm sure there is some level of improvement which is possible. And if this improvement comes, then only you and I will inherit a good healthcare system. Otherwise, our healthcare system, as Dr. Gyani also mentioned, which is under many strains, is at the cusp of either a takeoff or a decline. Proper policy making will help us ensure that it is only a takeoff.
Perfect. Excellent points about unintended consequences. Pawanji, I understand where are you hinting at. I think it's tariffs in some sense. Dr. Gyani, your views about the most important healthcare reform needed this year. Please unmute, sir. Yeah.
We have actually said to government in our paper that just focus on promotive, preventive and primary healthcare. if you spend 1 rupee on this segment, you will save 10 rupees on the curative part. You do not have the infrastructure on the curative part, and it will take another 5 years to build that. Instead, you focus. For example, when we made a study at the quota, when the children died 150, our study showed that most of the children who are brought from villages far away, 70% cases, 73% precisely cases were low birth weight. And by the time they were shifted from villages to town to Kota Medical College, they had no chance of survival. Low birth weight is nutrition problem. Last year, luckily, government, I think, provided 30,000 crores, if I remember. 35,000 crores on the nutrition. We have to see how it was utilized. So if you focus on sanitation, nutrition, and drinking water, half of the problems are solved of the healthcare. Nutrition, sanitation, and drinking water. These things are not considered as a part of the healthcare. Unfortunately, they are the root cause of the bad healthcare. So focus on that, promotive, preventive, and primary. So aggressively go and make sure that 150,000, 1.5 lakh health and wellness centers are functional in real sense. You will be able to overcome majority of our healthcare problems.
Great inputs, Dr. Jagdeep, on the preventive healthcare, nutrition, sanitation. These are the very, very important points and fundamentals of any healthcare reform in any country. Thank you for the input. Rajiv, please, over to you for one most important reform according to you.
I agree with Pawanji, and I would like to definitely emphasize that policy making should be by evidence. That whatever suggestions we are giving in can be done with a few product lines initially, see the result of that, see the evidence of that, and then apply to other product lines. In terms of the most important criteria or headline request, both for the healthcare providers and for the stakeholders who serve the healthcare industry, I think the most important criteria is we cannot have 1.5% of the GDP as our healthcare budget. This needs to go up drastically and emphatically more than 5 to 7%, especially in the short term for COVID, for vaccination, and for rebuilding and strengthening our infrastructure in the short run. Ayushman Bharat, which took off very well, has suffered badly in the last 1 year's time. Before it gets injured and goes into the sickbed itself, it needs to be revived rapidly. So this is the most important ask. But since I have the opportunity, I'd also like to address over here the question put about regarding MRP. We have been seeking that the government needs to monitor the MRP, both at the import front and at the domestic manufacturing front. Unless you monitor data, you cannot find the basis to make the correct policies. And when you start monitoring data, you will find that the MRP on the product is being as high as 30 times or even more from the import landed price or the ex-factory price. A stopcock which leaves the factory at 4.5 to 5 rupees has got an MRP of 130 to 150 rupees. What is the basis of that? Now, anybody who starts to make that product, if I want to make this tomorrow, if I give it at 4 or 5 times, which would be a more rational number, at say 25 rupees MRP, I will not be able to succeed in the market. No hospital and no retailer will buy the product, no dealer will buy the product. So if I have to play the market, I'm forced to play that unethical game of giving a similar product at 130, 150 rupees or 160 rupees and say that I will give you the same margins or higher margins. We have to get out of this rut. So 200, 300% unfortunately is not happening. This is the reality. So monitor it and then cap it initially at say 5 or 6 times, and then if need be bring it down later on. But that should be the cap for everybody based on the import landed price and the expected price on which GST is charged first time, and that it is verifiable because it is GST is charged, electronically captured is the first point of sale. Thank you.
Thank you, all the speakers. I think excellent session, excellent input, and we can conclude here. Let me request Pratibha to conclude the session.
Thanks a lot. What more we could ask, for an inaugural session, such a splendid, session we had. We had all the pioneers of the industry. We had the right mix of scientific knowledge and business acumen here. And I would like to thank Ravi sir for smoothly, conducting and moderating the session. Thanks a lot, Dr. Ravi sir. And I would like to thank each one of the panelists here who had come here and who had given their points, made their very valuable insights. I would like to ask my team back and Ravi sir to present the speaker certificates as a token of thanks to the each panelist here. Thanks a lot, Dr. Ravi sir.
Yeah. It's our pleasure to acknowledge Shri Rajiv Nathji from IMED to be speaker here. Thanks for joining us, Rajiv ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dr. Girdhar Agyani ji, Director General of Association of Healthcare Providers India. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. And Pawan Chaudhary ji from Medical Technology Association of India. Thanks for great inputs, great ideas. Thank you so much. With this, namaskar to each of you. Thank you.